and welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. It's my pleasure today to be speaking once again with Dita Weiss, coming to us live from Munich, Germany, I believe at IPC headquarters there, European headquarters. Dita, welcome. It's good to see you. How are you?
Thank you, Eric. I'm fine, and I'm happy to be over here at the Munich European headquarters of IPC. It's a beautiful day over here in Munich, blue skies. It couldn't be better.
Well, we're jealous. It's rainy in Texas. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about a few things. For the audience, I'll also say you'll notice Dita and I both have the same backdrop. We'll talk about that at the end here, so stay tuned. Dita, you and in4ma just completed one of your mid-year survey of the EMS industry in Europe. Tell me at a high level, how did that go? What were the outcomes?
Well, as you know, there is a lot of controversial information flying around on the internet, and I just recently read something about someone stating that 2/3 of the industry, of the electronics industry, would be making lower revenues in 2022 due to the semiconductor shortage. And then I analyzed the half-year results of the public EMS companies in Europe, and I realized that, for example, the big 5 Scandinavian companies like Scanfil, in4ma, Node, Hansa, Keytron, but even as well and GPV, but as well non-Scandinavian companies like Sycor and Lacroix. They all published half-year results which were in the region 30 to 50% higher than in the previous year for the first half. So I thought, how can it be if somebody states that 2/3 of the industry is going to have lower revenues, that these companies don't do that? And I decided that this was worthwhile to be studied further. And I did a survey of the European EMS industry. And as you know yourself, how difficult it is to get respondents. Yeah. I wrote to 400, or in actually it was 397 companies, and asked them, based on their first half year's result, how they expected their annual result for 2022 to turn out. And at the same time, I asked them how much of this increase or decrease would be related to price changes. And I, in the results I will publish now shortly, you will see 115 companies. Meanwhile, I got some late respondents as well, and now at 120. But those 115 that responded were already having revenues that equaled 7.9% of the overall production value for 2021. So roughly saying 28% is quite a good number, giving you representative results. Okay. And out of those 115 companies, it was 90% telling me they increase their prices and they increase their revenues. So it was an unbelievable high number I had there. And let me just sum that up a little bit. The total revenue change on average they expect, and I even analyzed that by revenue size, but there was no big difference. By the way, I did get respondents from 20 different companies in Europe, In the majority, it was Western European companies responding, and it was 67 from Germany, and the remainder from different European countries. And on average, they are expecting their revenues 2022 to increase by 21.9%.
Right.
And if we divide that into price increase versus quantity increase, we are talking about 13.2% quantity increase versus 8.7% price increase. So if I put that in absolute terms, we are talking about just on those 28% of companies responding, we are talking that they paid 1 billion euro more for material. But at the same time, they were able to make 1.6 billion more in revenues. So where does this high increase come from? In talking with some of the people, they tell me it's not necessarily that the end market is now all of a sudden jumping up. During the Corona crisis, many companies, not on purpose, but accidentally reduced their inventories, their finished goods, which they normally sell to the end users, and now they are filling it up again because they are expecting that shortly there might be other problems popping up, and they need a security storage in order to be able to sell their products to their customers. So if there really was a decline of revenues by end customers of EMS companies, the OEMs, it is definitely not due to the fact that the EMS industry did not supply. It is more that the salespeople were incapable of selling the products.
Well, let me dive into this a little deeper, because I have some of your initial survey results in front of me here, and I found it interesting, the part you're just talking about there, how much was price versus quantity increase. And you do an analysis within there of these on a scatter graph of the those companies that, what was it? It was a comparison of price increase versus quantity change. And you see that the lower performing companies were the ones who did not pass along or did not institute price changes. Is that correct?
See, that is a funny thing. If you plot the individual data of the 150 15 companies, you can even see a trend. The higher the price increase, the higher the quantity increase. Yeah, and it was in total 13 companies, which equals 11% of the returns, who said they did not increase prices. And well, you know, I'm polarizing all the time. I can only say everybody who didn't increase the prices must have been stupid. Yeah,
well, I won't go that far, but I do see it on your scatter graph on the low left end there. You see the ones who had, in some cases, negative, right, revenue for the year, showing no price increase, and as you're saying, even no quantity change. So
yeah, see, nobody, at least, let's be lucky, nobody reported that they reduced prices. Yeah, yeah, but even the 13 companies I mentioned who did not increase prices, some actually lost revenues. And I have to say, as this was a European survey, I have even respondents from Ukraine. And you can imagine that companies in Ukraine were not necessarily able at the moment to keep their revenues at the same level than they had in 2020. So those were part of the respondents who lost. In addition, there were companies, and that is interesting as well, from the automotive industry, companies with a high share of automotive, actually lost revenues, even so they increased prices, which means they forwarded the additional material cost to their customers. And at the same time, just to give you one example, a company increasing prices by 10%, but is stating their revenue will decrease by 10%. So in actual fact, on the quantity side, they lost 20. So
you mentioned
those are the situations.
You mentioned automotive. Let me follow up on that too, because you in your presentation, you have a discussion of automotive industry and semiconductors. Now, I know that that's a rich and meaty subject there, but kind of summarize what you were noticing there.
Well, number one, when you look at the quantity changes of semiconductor production, and there is quite some good numbers from IC Insights. You see that the semiconductor industry has increased output, and now we have to realize it is not very easy for a semiconductor manufacturer to increase output. And that is the big fault of the automotive industry. They don't understand the business. They talk about just in time, and they can push their suppliers from the EMS industry to work just in time. And the EMS industry, if the automotive industry increases the demand, an EMS company can increase from 2 shifts to 3 shifts, or they do 2 shifts plus overtime. Now, you cannot do that in the semiconductor industry. The semiconductor industry is working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They cannot stop the lines. If they stop the lines, they automatically have a huge yield loss. So that is something the industry needs to understand. And if in the past, the industry was able to react to higher quantities, like say 2% increase. It was not just that the semiconductors then increased the output by 2%. Now you always have a certain buffer stock at the semiconductor industry as well as at the distributors. And that buffer stock can cope with 2%. But if all of a sudden the automotive industry, first of all, as they did 2020, run down all the production, and then expect half a year later that everybody jumps up again, it's not possible. And the other point is, if you look at the products, and there is by the way, from IC Insights, there is McLean report about this, a beautiful documentation. I can only recommend that. I get no bonus for doing that, but it's a good report. It's bloody expensive, but it clearly says that the automotive industry is not necessarily looking for semiconductors of the latest technology. They are not looking for 3 nanometer technology. They are normally in the mature technology where the semiconductor industry is not increasing capacity. So the problem is really more complex. And if you break it down a little more easy, you can just say, let's differentiate between logic and memory chips. Memory chips being demanded a lot by the 3C, computer, consumer, and communication. Yeah. Whereas what the automotive industry at the moment is looking for in specific is microcontrollers and chips for power management. And again, that normally is not the highest technology. We are talking definitely above 40 nanometer technology here. So it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, yeah. You pick up on another point that I want to follow up on, kind of move off of the semiconductors, but in your recent survey, there's a reference to the difference between Eastern Europe and Western Europe and how that's played out. Because traditionally, what I've always thought of Eastern Europe is really kind of the revenue growth has always been higher for the facilities there than the Western.
It definitely is. Yep.
Yeah. But so what was your survey indicating?
Well, see, we all heard about it lately, that many market researchers are already talking about the semiconductor problem being over shortly. And it is already visible over here in the third quarter in regards to memory chips. Now, memory, as I said, 3C, computer communication and computers, those were in very high demand in 2021 because a lot of people were working from home and that required additional laptops. Most of the communication to the customers was in video calls like we do today. All of that requires more equipment from the telecommunication side. And as well, video games. People were sitting at home being bored. There was a high demand of video games, and there were times when latest version of PlayStations were not available due to the chip shortage. Now, this market is saturated now, and the industry is seeing, and we get this feedback as well from Asia, where most of these products 3C are manufactured, that the demand is slowing down. And as demand is slowing down, there is no shortage on memory chips anymore. Yeah, and the 3C, and that is the difference between East and Western Europe. In the Eastern European EMS companies, we have more companies who run on high volume, low mix, and that is typically the 3C. Yeah. Whereas in Western Europe, proximity to the customer is more important, and we are talking about small quantity or low volume and high mix. So for the first time, we are seeing that Eastern Europe is growing less than Western Europe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shortly present a new forecast for 2022. We're still recalculating this at the moment, but it will tremendously be showing an increase in revenue for 2022, not to the extent of the survey, yeah, because we know the structure of the EMS industry, and we know as well people who have a high growth rate, they love to respond to you, to show you, hey, how good I am. Yeah. But people with lousy numbers are reluctant to show you what is happening at their place. So forecast will be a little bit lower, but still unbelievable high, and it will be the highest increase at least for the last 10 years.
In 2022, and I have your slide in front of me, so I won't give away any numbers since it hasn't been released yet. But you're also, I think, predicting in 2023, kind of coming back to some normal growth. That maybe it's
it's very simple. See, once the storage, the security storage is filled up with the OEMs, yeah, then we are returning to a normal consumption of the end users, yeah, and the market never jumps. And you will not see that all of a sudden you will have a continuous 20% increase in revenues, because every shortage stops one day, and soon the demand is lower than the production prices go down. That's a very simple law of economy.
Yeah. Let me, a related question. So we've been talking a lot about this, is labor, right? Labor issues have been, and I've been doing some interviews and some shows lately, speaking directly to that. How is that playing out in Europe? What's the situation relative to the labor force currently?
Well, first of all, what we see is that in several countries, we have full employment, which is defined as the unemployment rate be below 3%. That in specific is in Germany, where we have 2.4% at the moment. It is in Poland, and it is in the Czech Republic. But in addition, there are many other countries where we have nearly full employment, which means below 4%, and that is half of Europe has below 4%. And it is getting more a problem for the companies to recruit additional people. And during this survey, I had several respondents who told me, I would have been able to get more semiconductors on the spot market at higher prices, as long as the customer pays us, I could have made additional revenues. My problem was I didn't have labor force to do that. And that is the main problem, is that we're running into a labor problem, and companies have to look into a higher degree of automation to solve this problem. And there are many different possibilities to further automate the manufacturing process.
No, and that does continue to be a problem for the industry. And but that automation is certainly one of the trends that's been accelerated throughout the COVID for the last few years, and I think that should certainly continue. I want to wrap I don't want to give away too much of your slides. I know you're about to do some major presentations there in Europe, and those will be reported out. I think you'll have press release coming out regarding this as well. So, and we'll be glad to publish that for the industry as well, as we always are. I want to end where I began, which is with the slide that is behind both of us. More so with Dita, he leans more to the left there. The EMSNOW. Last year, during COVID, Dita and I took on the Herculean task of visiting EMS companies in Europe, and it was one heck of a tour. And we traveled around, saw quite a few, and we were, if I remember right, we had to be tested 9 times, and it was we had such a good time last time. We decided we'd do it again in 2022. And that's what this is. So Dita and I'll say a few comments, and I'll let you give some color commentary, Dita. We've decided that we will do this again here in 2022. I am returning to Europe. He's always stayed there for the beginning of November. We're going to spend a few weeks visiting. Last year, we've focused more heavily within Germany, although we went up to Estonia as well, and a little into Austria and Switzerland. This time, we're going to head to some different countries to get a sense of the industry over there. And then we will end up at Electronica in the middle of November, and to kind of meet with the industry there as well. So Dita, you're my Sherpa on this trip, as you were during the last year. As always, I appreciate the efforts that you've put together in organizing this. Do you want to share something, a little bit about what you have planned for us?
Yes. Well, number one is, in actual fact, last year's trip we did already caught a lot of attention. And when I was at the IPC executive meeting in July in London, I was asked several times by UK companies, "Are you coming to the UK this year?" And yes, we got invitations. Unfortunately, I have to say it didn't work out this year, and we probably have to defer that to next year, because it's on the traveling side is the most difficult thing. You want to optimize your time, not sitting too much in the car. Last year, we traveled 3,500 kilometers. Eric, this year, it's going to be more than 4,000 kilometers we're going to drive. We are flying into Copenhagen. And then I have to still fix the appointments with the different Scandinavian companies in Sweden, and we're going to tour the west of Sweden. And I'm not telling too much as long as I don't have confirmation of those appointments. And we're going to be in Sweden for 1 week. Then we fly back to Germany, and from there we hit the road again and go to France. And we're gonna visit a couple of companies there, of which 2 are already fixed. That is All Circuits and Asteel Flash. From there, and we're gonna visit a third one, and I can tell you, I hope I'm going to be able to get this appointment with Lacroix, with their newest factory in the Loire Valley. And then we are going on to Belgium to see a company which is not only doing EMS, but as well ceramic hybrids, that is CMEC, who have a subsidiary in the UK and in Canada as well. And we end the tour with ProDrive Technologies in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. And from there, we go south again, and we're going to be at Electronica. We will have a booth, ladies and gentlemen, at Electronica. You will find that not under EMSNOW, not under in4ma. You will find it under EMS Scout. And we're going to be located in Hall A1 in booth 555. And we really expect all of you to come and visit us and say hello. And we might even have a surprise for you.
Yeah, oh, very nice. Yeah, that is the EMS hall. So I think that is the hall to be in there, especially for the industry that we do. And yeah, it should be another good trip. And again, the intent is to learn more, to represent more, to you know, for the industry, so that through our publication that we can be reflecting the trends properly. I trust Dita and his insights implicitly, but it's, you know, as Ronald Reagan say, trust but verify. So I am hitting the road with Dita once again. We look forward to it. We will be doing podcasts again from the road. We will be doing our report outs quite heavily during those weeks. So podcasts worked very well for us last year. We'll continue that this year. And then we'll do some video interviews at the conclusion of it, probably to do so, kind of summarize some of the trends and what we're seeing, our trends and impressions. So look forward to that as well.
Eric, and I can definitely tell you, this tour again is gonna be like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, we're going to get you a new tagline for this one this year. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll find it. We'll get you one. So,
yeah, play it again, Eric.
There we go. Dita, it's a pleasure. Again, I want to thank you for the work you do of the industry. I think as an old market researcher myself, your work is always you know, top in the industry, obviously just on Europe, but we appreciate it. It gives great insight and it does a great service for the industry. So thank you for your efforts, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Eric.
Very good, sir. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you.
Okay, bye all.
Bye-bye.